Hello, good morning. Good morning, second year BSTM student. I would like to welcome you to our subject for today, which is travel writing and photography. Okay, what comes to your mind when you hear that you will be having this kind of subject? Okay, I know marami sa inyo dyan ang nagtaka na meron na palang subject na ganito, and it's very interesting. Okay? I assure you that this subject will be as fun as possible, and also you will develop more of your writing skills and your photography skills as well upon taking this course. Okay? Let's work hand in hand to understand what is in charge of us, which is to have in-depth knowledge on travel writing and photography. So just to give you a quick overview of our course outcome, this is the objective of the course, which is written also in your syllabus. First, gain knowledge, understanding, and critical thinking skills on travel writing industry, understood and gain experience in the nuanced genre of travel writing, develop and applied multimedia storytelling skills, produced travel content and product based on travel experience, develop the ability to distinguish the most effective medium to use for content, incorporate diversity in travel write-up content that includes underrepresented people or ideas, develop basic photography skills and apply these skills appropriately. Learn the fundamental elements of photography from traditional techniques to creative use of contemporary digital imaging resources. Apply the concept of travel photography. Utilize social media or other multimedia platform to promote work and engage a diverse audience. Create original works of art that reflect feelings and point of view through travel write-ups and photos. So it's a mix, travel writing and photography in our course outcome. And for now, we will have the meaning, definition of travel writing, how it was originated, its history, the kinds of the types of travel writing, and their differences. Okay, so this lesson has its objectives. First, develop an understanding of travel writing's origin and its characteristics. Enumerate the role of travel writing in today's tourism industry and differentiate the types of travel writing. First, let's have a look what is travel writing, okay? Before we discuss what is travel writing, perhaps we should say what it is not, okay? Ano ba yung travel writing? But first, let's look ano ba yung hindi travel writing, okay? So for us, it's easy to say travel writing. It's self-explanatory. Pero paano ba siya ginagawa? Ano yung tamang paggawa sa kanya? Okay? Travel writing isn't writing about your family's vacation. It is not writing also about what you like or you didn't like about your last trip. And it definitely isn't about writing about destinations so that you can travel for free. So, malinaw. Actually, when I hear travel writing myself, this is what I have in mind. Ito yung mga nasa isip ko that you are traveling and then you give your feedback or your reviews about a certain destination or about a certain service or about a certain business, for example, a hotel or a resort. Okay? But hindi daw pala yun ang travel writing. It is not about writing about your family's vacation. So, hindi daw siya ganun. Hindi din daw siya pagsusulat ng mga nagustuhan mo at naayawan mo dun sa specific experience mo or travel experience. And it is also definitely not about writing on destinations so that you can travel for free. Because you are familiar with influencers, with yung mga nagpo-post sa social media, then they get freebies from the resorts or from the hotels na ipinopost nila. It's not about like that. It's deeper than that, okay? So, nalaman na natin kung ano yung hindi travel writing. Let's focus now what is travel writing. Travel writing is writing about places, persons, and things in other places. Also, writing about how to travel, when to travel, and advice on traveling. All with the reader in mind, okay? So, travel writing is a deep writing na ang gusto mo mag-benefit is your reader. Benefit, ha? It's not to brag that you have traveled, nakapunta ka sa ganito, nakapunta ka sa ganyan. It's not about like that. Like what we usually do in social media. Your purpose in writing is for the reader to know how to travel. Paano ba pumunta dun sa specific destination na yon? When to travel? Kailan ba best time na pumunta sa destination na yon? And advice on traveling. And you have to consider the reader, yung makakabasa. Okay? The reader is the main purpose. Ba't ka sumusulat nun? It's for the benefit of the reader. It's about relaying your travel experiences to others so that they may emulate them or at the very least not make the same mistakes you did. Okay? So you write your travel write-ups for the reader. For example, ang sinulat mo is about a good experience, a very informative experience. And the overall concept of your write-up is a good one. So what the reader will do, he or she can imitate or can be influenced as much as possible. That reader will also visit the place, will also want to experience, to have the experience that you got from visiting that specific place. Is for them also not to make the same mistakes that you do. For example, you gained a very bad experience from that travel. You write it up, all of the negative write-ups, all of the honest information about your specific travel. So what the reader will do, he will not possibly make the same mistake. Hindi na siya pupunta doon. Because you have informed him well and in advance na ganito yung possible mong ma-experience. Well, it should not be one-sided because just be fair dun sa establishment that you have making a write-up about. Okay? And it's writing about things in your own backyard that are exotic to everyone else. For example, you've been to Sagada and you really appreciate what is in there. And then you make your write-up, all of the information, what are the travel requirements, what are the travel means, the transportation to go there, the fees, how much, what are the possible food that he or she may encounter or may experience there. So, the most important thing that you have to consider when making writings about your specific travel is that it should be unique, exotic. Because it's your edge to everyone else who's writing about it na maging interested yung reader mo dun sa sinulat mo. And the most positive na mangyayari about it is that the reader will also want to experience the same experience that you had. Okay, so a local farmer's market, historic site, restaurant, and museum. These are some of the examples. Now, to be a good travel writer, you need to be on all the time, not just when you want to. When you're on vacation, you do what you want and when you want it. Your mind should not focus on the place you're visiting only when it wants to. But to interpret a destination for your readers, you have to look for new angles on the same old things while at the same time sharing your pleasure with your readers. Okay, so as you can see here, travel writing is not just for hobby purpose. It's not, it's not just about you want to write because you like to. It's more of a responsibility. Responsibility for your reader, especially if you are an old travel writer. If you've been writing about your travel a lot for a long period of time. Meaning, you need to be on all the time. It's not just you're traveling because you want to relax, but you have a responsibility to make a write-ups for your future possible readers. As I said earlier, you should not be one-sided. For example, you experience a bad experience on your travel. You do not need to focus on the bad one. You should look on the other angles. You should look on the other side. Because for sure, a specific place, hindi lang yan on negative service or on negative feedback lang ang makukuha mo. For sure, there is still positive experiences that you will be having. Just look on the other side. Just be open-minded. So that's the key. To be a good travel writer, you should be open-minded. And you should be on all the time. Okay? The information that you will be giving with your reader is the basis for their next travel experience also. So before we go further into travel writing, we need to take a look at the readers that will devour what you say about a place. There are three parts to the communication process. The sender, which is also the writer, the receiver or the reader, and the message. When you were in school, you subconsciously learned that the writer was the most important part of the process because in academic writing, that's the case. But in general writing, including travel writing, the reader is the most important part of the process. If a writer doesn't think about the reader before writing, the reader most likely won't be interested or might possibly not understand what the writer is saying. So it's clear here that you are not just writing for yourself, for you to be able to write what you want to write. Of course, you think first before you write, but it's not enough that you have to think first before writing what's in your mind. You should always consider the effects of your write-ups to your reader. The reader are the most important consideration whenever you make your write-up as a travel writer. Because all of the information that you will write in your write-ups will reflect more your reader. Now let's take a look. How did travel writing begin? Travel has a long history. People have always traveled, from ancient times to modern resorts, but travel writing began more or less during Elizabethan times. Shakespeare got much of the background material for his plays, such as The Merchant of Venice and Romeo and Juliet, from Elizabethan travel guides to Italy. Okay, so it's really an ancient activity, the travel writing. Why is it needed? Travel writing celebrates the differences in manners and customs around the world. It helps the reader to understand other people and places, and it helps readers plan their own trips and avoid costly mistakes while traveling. But most of all, it lets readers travel to far off destinations that they may never see. Wow, it's very interesting, right? Travel writing opens your mind dun sa mga destination na hindi mo pa nakikita. 'Di ba, you've been experiencing uh, like for example, you have read a travel blog in the internet, and the writer was so powerful in his or her write-ups. Makaka-relate ka eh. It's like you're in there, kasama ka niya sa pag-travel niya. So that's effective travel writing. And also, in that way, na-appreciate ng iba't ibang tao yung differences ng customs and culture ng iba't ibang parts ng mundo. Because even though you've never been there, hindi ka pa talaga nakakarating doon, but because of this travel writing, it's like the history of your travel being put together in one write-up, in one article, and sharing it to the world. It's like that. And it also helps people na makakabasa ng iyong travel write-ups to at least not make the same mistake that you have done. Because of your travel write-up, you already inform the public or the reader that it's nice, the place is nice, but in some point, these are some of the negative experiences that I had. Then sulat ka, enumerate. And then after that, it's like a real-time information that you can give your reader not to make the same mistake that you do. So that hindi na sila magagastusan. The costly travel will not happen because of your write-up. And travel writing is a difficult genre to classify as it shares in so many other genres. Histories, personal narratives, accounts of exploration, and tales of epic travel writing derives from and adds to each of these forms. Travel writing has always been as much about the exploration of the writer's self as it has been about the places or peoples visited. Travel writers and critics of the genre have often argued that the destination is of relatively little consequence. It is the process of travel, the work or travel involved, that is true subject of the travel writer. Wow. Okay? So, travel writing daw ay pinagsama-samang genre. It can be about a history. It can be about a personal narrative like a diary or accounts of exploration, tales of epic quest. Okay? Travel writing is more than what we think about it. Travel writing is not only about the destination that the writer visited. It is also the process of travel, the work involved, the true subject of the travel writer. Okay? It's not just the destination alone. It's not just the people involved alone. And it's also not just about the experiences alone. It's more than that. Okay, so if travel writing is as much about the traveler as it is about the destination, then American travel writing reveals as much about the American self as it does about other peoples. American travel writing during the period 1820 to 1870 reflected the nation's expansion of its territorial boundaries, its participation in the process of manifest destiny, and its developing sense of itself as a distinct nation with ties to its European past. The sense of nationhood and of a national self was to be severely tested during the American Civil War. Among the many political, historical, and social events that determined the scope and focus of American travel narratives during the period were the Lewis and Clark Expedition, 1803 and 1806, the Voyage of the United States Exploring Expedition, 1838 to 1842, the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848, the California Gold Rush, 1849, and the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865. So that's a quick overview of the history of travel writing done during the times before. Now let's have the types of travel writing. What are the types of travel writing? Write for you. For example, you want to pursue your skills in writing. Well, this will help you to determine what will interest you the most. Well, whether you're a novice or seasoned writer searching for something new, there are multiple avenues from which to turn an aspiration into a part-time gig or a full-time career. Okay. Modern travel writing appears in many forums, from travel blogs and websites, in-flight travel magazines, trade magazines, newspapers, free periodicals, books, and more. But before all that comes the decision as to which one suits you the best. So travel writing also has to fit your interest. If you want to pursue travel writing, then you need to know what kind of travel will interest you, or what kind of features or genre that will interest you. Do you want to focus on just making write-ups about your food, or is it about giving advice on traveling? You can focus more of that depending on your interest. And that write-ups plus your interest will make a very good travel writing experience for the reader. Now let's have the first type, which is weekend warrior. Okay, so for the weekend warrior, travel writers should know the market, the publication, and their vocabulary. Consider if the piece will be family oriented. What are some interesting things to do outside of the must-see attractions? How to get the most out of the day or weekend, along with descriptions of the scenery and facts about the activity. Okay. Local or regional attractions are great for this type of piece. This is a mashup of a few ways to travel right. It can be an outdoor expedition, recreational indoor activity, weekend getaway, or a combination. It may focus on fishing trip, bike or hiking trails, scenic road trips, or indoor rock climbing, for example. It's a destination piece with an element of adventure that gives the reader a glimpse of what they could be doing this weekend. Okay. So, a working people, what really excites him is to know that it's Friday already. Tomorrow is weekend. Okay? So many things come into his or her mind what he or she will do during the weekend. And this travel write-up, in this kind of travel writing, what the writer would like to focus is an extraordinary trip that the reader will at least imitate or possibly work on doing also after reading the article. Yung makakapag-boost ng kanyang interest that ito pala ay magandang gawin in a weekend trip. Because remember, weekend only comes like 4 times a month and you really want to maximize it. So what activity would you like to do? Of course, activity which will really excite you, which will really put you in a very different mood. Like an activity, for example, like you want to do kayaking or you want to do parasailing. So a travel writing in this type can focus on an activity or a destination that will bring the exotic mode of traveling to the reader. They can focus on unique indoor and outdoor activities, road trips, hiking, more on a unique destination piece that he or she would like to do whenever he has the chance to travel during the weekend. Next we have is the content and social media marketing. Travel companies sometimes hire freelance content and social media writers to promote their product and services via blog posts, video clips, and articles. You'll need to write quickly, vary the tone for targeted audiences, and engage with followers and update posts. If you favor succinct tweets, Instagram blasts, and Facebook blurbs, you'll like this option. As a travel writer, you should have a social media presence anyway. While you're traveling, you can upload videos and pictures to promote the attractions and things to do at the destination. Also, during complimentary travel, businesses like the fact that you're able to bring along your followers to visit their destinations and spread the word instantly. Finally, most companies have social media pages, and as more people turn to them for ideas, travel content and social media writers are in demand, especially if you employ SEO practices. There are even content marketing companies that hire travel writers specifically to research and write content for other businesses. Wow. So this one is an example of the content and social media marketing. Here, I have provided here a screenshot of a social media content writer. Well, of course, all of her trips are free from the featured resort or hotel or destination. So it's just one of the perks of being an influencer, a social media marketer, or a content writer in social media. So it's like bringing your followers to the specific destination with you through your videos, through the pictures that you are posting in your social media accounts. And it says here also that some of the companies or content marketing companies, they hire travel writers to research and write content for other businesses or yung competitors nila. So it's their technique to hire content writers para like bantayan or mag-research about sa mga competitors nila. It's for them to have their competitive advantage kasi gawain niya ng mga companies. If they like to have an edge dun sa kanilang mga kakompetensya, they have to know kung anong condition na nung kakompetensya nila, yung competitor nila. They have to be familiar with all the products and services that their competitors recently is providing, so they can cope up. If wala pa sila nun, they can imitate like that. It's a normal scenario for businesses, especially when they're competing with other business. So for content writers, this is how their social media account looks like. So as we said earlier, they should be on all the time. They should be online all the time. They should be willing to be posted all the time. Their post should be shareable in public, because that's their goal, to attract visitors to come to that specific destination, because they've been paid to do that, to influence others. Now we have here the roundups and best of list. So this type of travel writing is very popular these days. Roundups are bullet point lists that collect information on different destinations with a common theme, like the best B&Bs in San Francisco, in here in the Philippines, if you are familiar with the television show, Ang Pinaka, I think it's in Channel 11 in GMA News TV, wherein yung host is yung bald, yung kalbo. They are really featuring different activities, different foods, different restaurants, hotels, and destinations, which they list from 1 to 10. That's why it's Ang Pinaka. It's more on television show, but in writing, you are always encountering this, I think, in your in your research. Sometimes you are uh, experiencing having found different destination from 1 to 10. So it's like it's the roundup. Iniisa-isa nila yung features nung magkakaparehas na theme. For example, casual dining restaurants or economy airlines, like that. These are the top 10 most popular casual dining restaurants who serve this type of food, this specific type of food. So your roundup should be on the same theme because you cannot have a list like 1 to 10 if iba-iba sila ng ino-offer. So, ang tinitingnan lang doon, kaya roundups or the best of the list is sino talaga yung pinaka best to quality and service, and sometimes the considering also the the fee for that specific restaurant or activity. So it's like giving the reader the information, the idea, what they can consider visiting through your write-up. Now, these are the perks of being a travel writer in the roundups and best of list category. If your roundups are in the same region, before you visit, you can request complimentary accommodations. Better yet, contact local tourism agencies, and they'll help set up tours, press passes, create your itinerary, and provide tour guides on occasion. Roundups get a lot of online views and are easily scanned for pertinent information. It helps your portfolio too. Okay, so you became a reliable source of information to the reader. So, especially if what you have right is also yun din yung na-experience nila when they go there. Especially, for example, you have written your write-up or your review about Puerto Galera, for example, the different hotels in Puerto Galera, in Sabang specifically. So these are the top 10 examples or places to visit in Puerto Galera, Sabang, Puerto Galera. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1 being the highest, okay? So for that, you gave your reader the overview na kahit hindi pa sila nakakarating doon, when they had a chance na makapunta, alam na nila yung pupuntahan nila. Because nabasa nila sa writings mo. So that's very important as a travel writer. And also, you should always remember not to be biased. Huwag kang man-discriminate. Don't look on the negative side also always. Don't look on the positive side only. So we have here holidays and special events. A travel story involving holidays and special events such as New Year's or Germany's Oktoberfest should be pitched and planned well in advance. If you're new to travel writing, you can start with local festivals and fairs. One lesson learned early on as a journalist who also covered travel writing, these events can produce multiple pieces and can be a treasure trove for new leads. For example, the fifth piece can be a 200-word announcement of the event. This is just a guide if you are really on travel writing. Closer to the occasion, an interview with an event official about last year's success and what to expect this year serves as a reminder. As you cover the event, talk to everyone. If you do multiple types of travel stories, your next lead or resource could be around the corner. So this is just an example. He is a travel blogger. His name, I think, is Nomadic Matt. This is her. This is his real-time page, Nomadic Matt. This is the reference, nomadicmath.com travel blogs, and he features this October Fest. Okay, so as per him, it's better to post that you will be having a travel, that you will be having, or you will attend an Oktoberfest, that you will go to in Germany for the Oktoberfest, so that your reader will know what to expect. Because this blogger, this travel blogger is very famous. I think he got to different parts of the world and participating with its different festival. Okay, so this is just one of his write-up. So let me just read to you so that you can know what's really on the holidays and special events as one type of travel writing. So how many days are you at the Wissen Oktoberfest for? So he did an interview with a German girl wearing her traditional Bavarian dirndl across the table, asked me, "We're here for 5 days." So he replied. Her face became a mix of shock, disbelief, and horror. 5 days? That is crazy. You're a bit insane, huh? She said. You only need 1 day for the Wissen. I hope you survive. Because this Oktoberfest ay dinadayo talaga. Like the one that you will see when having a Mardi Gras. Like that. Ganun yung scenario niya. All of them, they're having beers on large mugs. And then all of them are really drinking a lot. Okay, so this is just the example of a travel write-up featuring holidays and special events. So here, this type of travel writing is called side trips. Okay, from the word side, trip. It focuses on another city or lesser known location or attraction. For example, here, in our example for Fodor's Travel, this is also one of the famous travel blog website. This is originally a travel to Hong Kong, but the travel writer is having a side trip to Macau. So before siya pumunta ng Hong Kong, he just got dropped off in Macau. And why is that? What is the purpose? It is to give the reader that the experience is not focused only on Hong Kong, but he or she can have more experiences when pumunta din siya dun sa mga madadaanan. Yun yung purpose nun. Not just focusing on a single trip, but dun sa mga madadaanan kasi, meron pa rin dong mga unique experiences that he or she can get. Okay, so this is the reference for you to be able, if you want to visit, you can have the Fodor's Travel website. So this is a very good example of a side trip. Okay. Next type that we have here is the destination pieces. Destination pieces that are feature articles are usually very in-depth. Okay, this is an in-depth writing, malalalim. The kind of writing usually is a first-person basis. Like, for example, you are writing as if you are speaking. Like, for example, in this blog, travel blog from Kate, this is her actual website. I have here the screenshot of her one of the famous travel blog, Scenes from the Cotswolds. Cotswolds is a place. I just have to read you one of the example of how she narrated her experience, okay? So, having lived in and traveled extensively throughout the UK, I've gotten to know the country well and have been continuously discovering new places to visit. Some of them are still my most wanted destinations: beach hopping in Cornwall, hiking in St. Kilda, partying in Newcastle. One destination that I finally get to visit, the Cotswolds, a region in Gloucestershire, southwest England, famous for its picture-perfect villages. Okay, as you can see, she is like uh, speaking or narrating to someone. It's a first-person basis. The voice of the whole blog is like she is narrating. And through narration, nakakapagsabi na siya nung iba't ibang place. For example, beach hopping in Cornwall, hiking in St. Kilda, partying in Newcastle, without really saying that these are the things that napuntahan ko. Without saying like that. It's an indirect way of saying na ito yung mga gandang destinations based from her narrative, based from her experience. So this blog also includes information, the 5 W's of who, what, when, where, and why. Yun yung important dito sa type ng travel writing na to. That it should always, the write-up, for example, the write-up of Kate would have to answer these 5 questions. And ito dapat yung makakarating sa mga reader. Okay? Okay, let's have another one type of travel writing, which is travel and lifestyle blogging. Travel blogging allows writers to set the tone and pace because there are no editors or deadlines or templates, just you and your readers. You can also be a guest contributor or invite guest bloggers to increase visibility. As for lifestyle blogging, it's great for multiple ways of travel writing because you set the terms here as well. However, it's very competitive, so the key is to build trust and rapport and be a credible resource for readers. Okay. So this is just an example of a travel blog. This is from Cash and Jonathan. So it's very an interesting website because the girl here is a Filipina and Jonathan is a British guy. They are couple actually, and they are really traveling around the world. They are more focusing on itineraries for destinations, and then they got to write their experiences through different types of travel writing. For example, here, how to go to Guimarães, Portugal from London. So it's how to. We'll discuss it later, the how-to guides. And also, 10 best things to do in Portugal, in Guimarães, Portugal. So, iba-iba siya. Yung sa travel and lifestyle blogging, you can apply almost all of the types of travel writing. And what you have to consider here is to increase the visibility of your blog. It should always be updated. It's quite challenging for them because of the pandemic, but before pandemic they are really like weekly and even twice a week sometimes they're posting their updated blogs. So the next type of travel writing is how-to guides. The how-to travel piece imparts invaluable advice and information, making travel writers a tour guide of sorts. You can help solve readers' travel problems before they occur. And this alone will generate more shares if it's relatable and reliable. Okay, so I have here the example also from Meet Kate from her travel blog, How I Stay Healthy While Traveling. So it's like a how-to guide. And people get more interested because they can relate to it, especially if they are traveling too. So the target reader for this kind of travel writing is yung mga nagta-travel. How they keep healthy during the travel. Or sometimes they posted travel blog pack your how to pack your things in an organized way. Like for example, you are a travel writer and nagawa ka ng how to guide na travel blog, you focus on the interest of your reader. For example, you have made a survey that the reader nahihirapan sila mag-empake because of traveling a lot. You can have travel write-ups related to that or about that. In that way, magkakaroon ka ng madaming followers and magkakaroon ka ng madaming readers, and also yung reliability sa'yo ng reader will increase. So yan, example. I just read a part of it. Yes, it's one thing to be healthy when you're at home, but what happens when you travel? I was so nervous when I went to Florida with Kaylin in February. This was my first trip since committing to a new gym and exercise routine, a personal trainer, and an 80% paleo diet. How was I going to manage in a theme park famous for its milkshakes and turkey legs? Okay. So as you can see, it's very interesting to read. I made it through security at JFK Airport and felt like crying. I was hungry and surrounded by forbidden foods. The old me would have gone for a latte and a pastry at Starbucks, or maybe a giant bag of cheese its if I felt indulgent. What was I going to fail after so much hard work? It's okay, Kate, I told myself. You can keep up your diet here. I went to a fountain and filled up my portable water bottle. I went to a newsstand and bought a banana. And then I reached into my RX Pear stash and pulled out my favorite flavor, coconut chocolate. Yes, I could travel and stay healthy. See? Yung paraan niya ng pagsusulat would really hook you up. Like, you started here, and ano pa ba yung sunod? It's really interesting, and di mo namamalayan, you've been reading all of her blogs, like what happened to me. When I research her blog, I keep reading what else can she feature, and she's so the the write-ups that she's doing is very effective. It's more of practical advice, experiences that she had, and also it's good to think that she is a woman traveling alone sometimes. Next one is travel advice articles. So it's like how-to article, which can easily turn into an advice piece that discusses, for example, mishaps that can happen on a trip. So travel advice, it's very simple. You are giving travel advices to your reader. What are the things na pwede nilang gamitin? What are the destinations na pwede nilang puntahan with a very low budget? That's an example. Okay, so I'll show you the example of a travel advice article. Okay, it's also from Kate, Meet Kate. Okay, so it says here, the most important item I pack safe, travel safe review. Okay, so although you can say that it is an sponsored travel because she mentioned the brand and she mentioned also a review. Okay, it can sometimes be and also she featured it, pack safe, travel safe, 12 liter, like that. So I think this is a sponsored blog. Okay. So in travel advice, it should be an honest review. It's not just because you are paid to do that, but you should always consider, like I always say, the reader. If you are really satisfied with a specific item, like for this one, she is satisfied with this bag because she mentioned that sa lahat ng brand na nakita niya, ito lang yung bag na may security safe. Like for example, you don't have to use the vault inside your hotel room just to keep your important items safe because this bag has its same features than like the vault one. Okay. So what she did here, although I think this is a sponsored blog, she showed the exact image of her bag, of that specific bag, the Pack Safe Travel Safe 12L. And what she did is to start with like this sentence. For years, I've been recommending this product to every traveler I know. Budget, luxury, mid-range, family, solo, everything. I've urged everyone coming on our Central America tours to buy one for themselves. And yet, so few travelers have a portable safe. It blows my mind. I honestly think everyone should own one of these. I use my travel safe to keep my valuable safe in my accommodation, whether it's a hostel, a guest house, a hotel, or a rental. See what she did? She she cited her personal experience because that's how you give advice, right? You cannot give advice honestly if you don't experience the same thing yourself. Hindi ka makakapagbigay ng advice if hindi mo naman na-experience gamitin or hindi mo na-experience the same thing na nandun. Like for example, this bag. You cannot give advice to someone if personally hindi mo naman siya talaga ginagamit. Okay? So the next type of travel writing is travel itineraries. These are itineraries. You are familiar with itineraries like the the plan tour, how to get there, where to ride on. Okay, itineraries are city by city, region, destination, or site by site recount of all the details from planning to returning home so the traveler can use it as a stencil. There are recommendations on where to visit and how to maximize time and save money. So, for example, this travel blog by the Wandering Blonde, she focused on this sentence. Here's what you can see, do, and eat during one day in Troger. Okay? You are giving your reader the background of how, when, and where, or what can you see, what can you experience, what can you eat, where to ride, when is the best time to travel, because of your write-ups. So even yung reader, hindi pa siya nakakapunta doon, and if there's a chance that she or he wants to go there, it can be an easy access for him because you already give the information he or she needs. Well, this type next here of the travel writing is my most favorite travel writing type, food and travel. Wow. This is a priced gig for foodies, exploring diverse cuisines, cultures, and dishes, all the while visiting interesting places. This is a staple in the travel writing industry because there are evergreen opportunities to explore. If you have a genuine interest in food and basic cooking knowledge, this dream job can lead to interesting discoveries, making for well rounded pieces. Okay? Food and travel articles are not reviews, okay? And are more than just why a meal is great or where it falls short or the restaurant's location. It's the presentation, the ambience, the way this dish makes you feel, the amazing hole in the wall gems, okay? I have here the example of a travel vlog, which is my favorite, Mark Wiens. Wow. Actually, this travel blogger is also a YouTuber. He has his site in YouTube. Mark Wiens, Mark space Wiens. So he is my favorite blogger when it comes to food. Actually, this migrationology, this is his official travel blog site. You can visit if you want, migrationology. And I just provide here an example of one of his travel blog, which he featured the street foods here in the Philippines. Because he's been traveling a lot with his wife. He is based in Bangkok, Thailand, with his wife. They have a son. I think he is 3 years old or 4 years old, like that. He travels a lot with his wife and some of his friends. And also, if he wants to travel in a specific place for food only, food and travel, yun yung pinakang base ng kanyang uh, blog, travel blog, and also, yun din yung content ng kanyang YouTube. More of about food. But if you can see this guy, he is so thin. Napakapayat niya. Okay. This is how he featured the street food in the Philippines. Okay. This is entitled Filipino Street Food Guide 21 Must-Eat Snacks in the Philippines. Okay. So see how he uses also his photography skills in making a very interesting blog, which for us it's very normal because we Filipinos are very fond of eating street food. But for him, it's like an extraordinary experience. Although may mga napupuntahan na rin siyang bansa, which is he also featured excuse me, which he also featured street food. But here in the Philippines, what interests him the most is yung stories nung mga vendor. When he eats in Quiapo, he always go there in Quiapo. This guy, Mark Wiens, he interviewed people why they sell like that. Bakit yun yung napili nilang hanap buhay. That's how he cope with the culture. See, here, he featured isaw, which is very nice. And kwek kwek. Let me just read you what he said about the isaw. Isaw, we are going to start this feast off with a street food that I think reigns supreme on the afternoon grills throughout the Philippines, isaw, which refers to both pig and chicken intestines grilled over hot fire. Starting in the middle to late afternoon, you'll smell the charcoal being lit and you know it's time for your afternoon snack. The intestines are coiled onto skewers and grilled until charmed and smoky. The pig intestines are a little chewier and stronger tasting, while chicken intestines are just like mini tube sausages. Wow. So that's just how he wrote about isaw. Well, for us, napakasimpleng isaw lang naman. But if you are just, it's your first time to read a travel blog about food, what can you feel? It's like you want to eat isaw, right? Upon hearing the description that he had on isaw, it's like you want to eat isaw yourself. One of the best things about eating isaw, and true for lots of Filipino street foods, is seasoning with vinegar. Most people like to soak their isaw in chili onion vinegar and let it absorb as much vinegar as possible. The contrast of the smoky isaw with vinegar is extremely satisfying. Wow. That is how he described isaw. Okay? And price also is very interesting. Usually about 5 pesos, $0.1 per skewer. Diba? Yung kind of write-ups niya, although it's a bit overacting or dinadagdagan niya ng mga words, excuse me, which really will attract the readers. It's true. Tama yung sinabi niya na ang isaw is best paired with vinegar with onions and chili. 'Di ba? Ang lapa ng utak ng taong ito. Okay. Try to watch his vlog. It's very informative. And if you are really hungry and you got to watch his vlog in YouTube, mas magugutom ka. I tell you. Okay, so this is some of his featured vlog in the Philippines. Vlog and blog is different, guys. Vlog, V-L-O-G, and blog, B-L-O-G, is different. Okay. Tagum City Durian Festival, August to September. It's one of his features, and it really garnered international reviews because of how he featured this kind of festival in Tagum. So this is just an example of a food and travel blog. Okay, this is my favorite personally. Another one here is a travel guide books. So this type of travel writing is best for a straightforward kind of writer. Yung wala nang paligoy-ligoy. Because travel guidebooks is intended for people to have the most exact information in traveling. For example, here in our sample, it's from Nomadic Matt, the guy over there in our first type. Southeast Asia Travel Guide. So it's just like that. How to get there, how much, what are the things that you can do whenever you get there. So see, he also feature a map for readers to be able to really visualize themselves kung ano yung mga pupuntahan, where to go, how to stay safe, things to see and do, typical cost, suggested budget, money saving tips. So yan. Yan yung purpose ng travel guidebooks. Solely to really give a direct, walang paligoy-ligoy, exact information, travel guides. Next one here is travel humor. Okay. Actually, this type of travel writing is very unique one. Because most of the writers, they are just writing. They are just sharing the information. What they saw, what they did, what they experienced, what they ate. These are just of the typical information that they are including in their travel write-ups. But here in travel humor, it's like writing humorous stories, okay? But also, at the same time, you are giving information what are the things that a reader can do in that specific place. Okay? For example, here's a sample. This is a travel blog by the name, what's his name? Oh, I didn't include the name. Okay, so here, this is the travel title, the travel chart. Actually, this is the website, the name of the website. Today's funny travel photo is how to ride a bike with an ox. See? So, upon reading just the first line, matatawa ka na, di ba? Kasi yun yung purpose ng travel humor. To engage your reader through posting or through writing a numerous stories. This one is hilarious but highlights how some people in the world have to live, okay? See, check out the photo below I received. You can also check out his other funny travel photo. Okay. Yes, this is a rather large ox on the back of a motorcycle, sometimes called a Vietnam's Vespa. So here, he mentioned the country. But he is just narrating. Why is it funny? I'm not sure what took the most amount of skill, transporting this ox on the bike or taking the photo of it as it was zooming past. But this is the reality for most people in the third world. Not maybe people can afford a car or truck, so the motorbike is the main choice of transport. And the motorbike is used to transport pretty much anything that can fit on it. So take a look at this paragraph. But this is the reality for most people in the third world. What can you say? Not many people can afford a car or a truck, so the motorbike is the main choice of transport. This is the setback or the negative impact of writing a humorous travel write-up. Ito yung negative side niya. Because, di ba kapag gumagawa ka ng katatawanan sa ibang tao, sometimes, excuse me, you tend to insult someone. And this type of write-up here, for other reader, like when I have read it first, it's a bit discriminating. So what's the matter? Even though we are in the third world, you can put writings like that. Porque third world kami, you can show discrimination. So it's a bit off. It also says here that the downside is the risk of insulting someone. So that's the negative side of writing a travel write-up. Unintentionally, even though hindi mo naman sinasadya as a writer. But for those readers, for example, as for us na nasa third world, di ba, parang ma-hurt ka. Singling out a group of people or being culturally insensitive, using offensive language, or accidentally letting your prejudices creep into your writing, or worse, using your wit as a weapon. Many travel writers stick to universal misadventures, misassumptions, misunderstanding, and tongue-in-cheek humor, but finding the delicate balance in tone and keeping humor relevant, light-hearted enough, inclusive, and tolerant is no short order. So that's the negative side of making a travel humor write-up. Sometimes, unintentionally, hindi mo man sinasadya, you have hurt or you have put a negative impact on someone's mind. So for personal travel essays, it's well written, insightful. Personal travel essay is every editor's dream, but it's not always in demand or easy to write. A distinct voice, great backstory, a universal theme or lesson, the ability to tell a travel-related story imbued with metaphors and comparisons that reaches the reader are all part of great travel personal essays. Personal travel essays are more like a journey of discovery as the pace matures. It's rich in perspective and a balanced travel narrative. The travel aspect shouldn't hide inside your personal essay. Your purpose should live amongst its storyline. Okay, so even though, for example, you want to be a writer, even though you're making your own narrative of your travel experiences, the purpose of your writing, dapat hindi yun mawawala. Why are you writing? It's not just you're writing because you want to share your experience. It's more than that. You are writing because you want to inform someone or your reader why it is best to go to that specific destination, or why is it not good to go to that destination. it should have a purpose. It's not just because you're writing, it can be called travel writing, but it should serve a purpose. And for personal travel essay, the purpose is to make a well-written and insightful travel essay na makakakatch sa interest ng reader mo. Okay, it should not be a personal essay. Your purpose should live habang nagsusulat ka. Actually, it's just the same with some of the types of travel writing, and some of its features are also the same with the destination pieces, if you can still remember. But I have here a sample of a personal travel essay. It's from Bland Wayfarer travel blog. Yeah, her name is Rachel Elizabeth, and her personal essay, Why I Love Traveling So Much. So this is how it goes. It's obvious to everyone who meets me that I love traveling. The idea of travel, packing my bags, and disappearing to someplace new lives inside the brain all the time. For example, whenever I meet someone for the first time, or even encounter an old friend, I instantly want to talk about my upcoming trips, ask about their own adventures, share embarrassing and funny travel stories, and swap bucket list ideas. And yeah, I'll admit it, I'm probably a little annoying to my non-traveling friends and acquaintances, but I can't help myself. My wanderlusty passion sips through my pores out of my control. Passion is a good thing, I guess. A few years ago, I wrote about 29 ways travel changes you into a more spontaneous, well-rounded, and grateful person. Although I still stand by the ideas in that post, I still felt inspired to write an entire essay explaining why I love traveling so much. Exploring the world costs time and money, not to mention boarding planes stresses me to the max, so the trade-offs need to be worth it, right? So even though here in her personal essay, the main purpose is really to express her own experience, but upon reading it, you get to have the information that you need. For example, here, exploring the world costs time and money. So it's reality. She even stated that it's the reality. A few years I wrote 29 ways travel changes you. It's a way for writers to also check yung mga previous write-ups nila. Kaya naglalagay sila dyan ng mga open link for their mga previous blog. And also, she is really sharing her experience about yung mga experience na hindi masyadong maganda. Like for example, boarding planes stresses her to the maximum. This is how a personal essay goes, a personal travel essay goes. You share your personal experience, at the same time you give relevant information. So here, another type of travel writing is the travel memoir. They are like diaries. It's more of your personal point of view, your your experiences, mapamaganda man yan or hindi, like that. Sometimes it's a bit, for example, the writer, the writer's mood at the time of her writing is a bit sad or lonely. That is how her writing would reflect her mood. If the mood is sad, so most probably the write up that he or she will make will also be in the tone of sadness. So it's a bit harder to read. For example, you just had a glimpse over this sample. For example, this one, Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, and Love. Actually, this one, like what I have said, the writer of this write-up of travel, although it's a travel write-up, is a bit in a tone of sadness, malungkot. So, ikaw, kung gusto mo lang maghanap ng travel reviews, travel suggestions, you will not go to this kind or to this specific travel writing because maybe maaapektuhan ka din in some way. This is just the example. Eat, Pray, and Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, because this is more of her personal view, personal point of view, personal experience, and it's an honest experience. It's written by Elizabeth Gilbert. Okay, so Eat, Pray, Love, One Woman's Search for Everything Across Italy, India, and Indonesia. This is a chronicle of the author's travels after her divorce. See? Sino ba yung ikaw? If for example, me, I will not make a writing about me separating with someone. Because it will just put me into a sad situation. What I'm saying is that you are in that sad state of your life, and you really want to write about it. Or for example, I'm a reader. Would I choose to read a writing like this? If I am interested, yes. But if I am looking for a travel suggestion or a travel review, a honest travel write-up, I will not go with this kind of type of writing. Because this will really affect your own emotional state. She spends 4 months in each country, first indulging in Italy, secondly meditating in an ashram in India, and thirdly falling in love on the island of Bali in Indonesia. The book remained on the New York Times bestseller list of 187 weeks and has since been made into a film starring Julia Roberts. The book was divisive, with some critics complaining the book was narcissistic, while others praising Gilbert's storytelling. Personally, I think we all question at times if there can be something more to our lives, and that the book connects with many people who want to read a candid account of someone actually taking a chance in seeking out a different life. See, it is really an honest it really an honest travel write-up. Everything that you have experienced, everything that you feel, everything that you think, you will put it into writing. Kung gaano pa man kalungkot yan o gaano pa man kasaya yan. Because in some point, meron at merong reader dyan na maa-attract mo. And who are them? Those who are experiencing the same thing na nangyayari sa'yo. So from a very deep type of travel writing, which focus on like a diary type of writing, let's just go to a very shallow type of writing, and this is travel modes. So travel modes focus is not destination, but the form of transportation. How you get there, the voyage itself, transportation modes including vintage trains, railroads, ships, and automobiles. Not a how-to or advice piece, it can overlap in some ways, but the central theme is the discoveries along the way. The way it makes the author feel, and other nostalgic and historical angles, facts, a vivid narrative, and photos even elevate these expedition pieces. So even though it's just more on transportation related information that you will share your reader, you should also you should also find specific information or relatable information na magsusupport dun sa mga modes of transportation that you want to feature. For example, you want to feature a quick travel write-up of yourself going to Divisoria, for example. So these are the types of transportation that you can use to go to Divisoria. You can ride the PNR, the train. You can also ride jeepneys like that. But if that's the case, if yun lang yung isusulat mo, would you think reader will read your write-up? No, right? Because you just said these are the types of the and etc. But if you include like your experiences while riding a train, for example, you saw the the different types of for example of dogs that you see while traveling, because it's really a realistic one. If you ride the PNR going to Divisoria, you'll see lots of dogs, stray dogs, even though in Manila they have their policy na dapat na wala ang mga stray dogs sa mga kalye, but meron talaga. So it will catch your reader. And also you can feature the different ways of living ng mga Pinoy, that even though napakahirap ng buhay, but still they manage to have their lives, especially yung mga nakatira malapit sa riles ng tren. You can also feature them while writing. So it's just an example that you are not just giving information on how to ride a specific transportation or where to ride, but also you are giving information dun sa mga interesting topics habang nakasakay ka. And that way, makukuha mo yung interest ng mga reader. So this is just an example of the travel mode. See, it's a travel guide for food lovers. It's also from my most favorite travel blog website, Migrationology. And here, Mark Queen's featured the travel guide for food lovers in Seoul, South Korea. Okay? So here, he just mentioned arriving and leaving Seoul. There are a number of ways you could enter Seoul, but likely if you take an international flight from a different country, you'll land at Incheon International Airport. So he featured the airport, the International Airport of Korea, getting from the airport to Seoul. The easiest way to get from the airport to the center of Seoul is by train. Once you get out of customs, follow the signs for the airport railroad and you'll have to cross over the road, either over or on ground, and get to the adjacent building, which is the train station. There are a couple different options. Express train. This is the faster high-speed train that goes directly from Incheon Airport to Seoul Station. And if you want to make sure you have a seat or if you have lots of baggage, this might be the best option. See? Even though he is just describing the modes of transportation, he is also giving lots of information. How to get there, what are the things that you can experience while riding. Seoul Metro. I've never taken the express train because the metro goes the same route, only take a few minutes longer and cost much less. But it does stop at 11 different stations along the way and it can be busy, so you may need to stand. It takes around 56 minutes and costs $2.77. See, he also mentioned the price. So it goes like that. Well, this one here is another type of a travel writing, which is the news travel. So basically, news travel is a travel write-up which features specifically the condition in that specific place. For example, what we have here, places like Egypt and Israel with its rich biblical history, monuments and locations like Mount Sinai and the Red Sea are of interest to many reader and traveler alike. This is a tricky mixture because though tourism is alive in these places, civil and economic disturbances affect interest levels and thus publication opportunities. Yes, it's true. Because even a traveler or a travel writer goes to that specific place, if he or she is going to feature like a war, like what happened in a war, kahit simple lang, that Egypt government or the government of Israel would not allow you to publish your writings. Why? Kasi it will give bad impact sa kanilang bansa. So it's a bit challenging part for a travel writer who features news travel to publish their write-ups. Kahit nakapagawa sila ng write-ups, whether it be on their personal account or in their company's account, mahihirapan sila mag-publish, especially if it's a negative write-up. So here is an example of a news travel, but it's more of on the positive side. It's in Kathmandu. Okay. Hundreds of climbers are set to return to Mount Everest for the first time next month under strict conditions, government officials and mountaineers said, as the world's tallest peak reopens after a year closed due to the coronavirus pandemic. See, it's a news travel, but more on the positive side, which is saying that climbers can now reclimb the highest peak in the world, which is Mount Everest. So it's an information given for travelers or climbers, but it's also more on the news side. Balita siya. Okay, it's giving information about the latest news, and it's really interesting, right? Because people nowadays are reading about interesting topics, not just about coronavirus. So this kind of topic will really interest especially those people na mahilig or yung climbing interests them. So the last type of travel writing is the travel op-eds. Op-eds pieces are not as commonly as other travel writing mediums. However, these travel writers are intimately familiar with each publication's tone, style, and platform and check and adhere to submission details and deadlines. So they are like the traditional writers. Again, being original and persuasive, having a clear, decisive voice, something valuable to share, and an angle increases publication opportunities. So let me give you the example. We have this one by Johnny Thorson, and just like that, travel is gone. Okay, this is about traveling. Okay, this is not the end of a Hollywood blockbuster or a great new advert. It is the end of corporate travel as we have come to know and love it for more than 20 years. I am a strong supporter of the travel industry and personally ready to travel almost anywhere, but I cannot see how our beloved and sometimes hated industry can bounce back without some dramatic changes happening in a very short period of time. This article outlines some of my areas of concern and, more importantly, some areas of big opportunities as we start looking at 2021. Wow, you are so lucky you get to travel. I still remember that sentence being spoken by several of my best friends back in Denmark in the early 90s when they heard I was going to cool places like Nice, London, and San Francisco, and of course Barcelona, Miami, Marrakesh, Chicago, and Vienna for various industry events. Back then, it really felt like you were one of the chosen ones if you had a paying job that included real business travel. In many ways, we have been pushed back to a similar environment by COVID 19, and it no longer is a given that everyone can or is willing to travel on a weekly or monthly basis. See, this travel writing write-up focuses on the writer's personal experience, but it's more of giving concrete information about the topic, about the negatives, about the positives, and also his personal information, his personal overview about a specific area. So this is the end of our lesson for today, and I hope you have learned a lot. Please review anything that is included in this slide. And I hope you had a great time because I had a great time too, even though wala akong kausap. Thank you so much. Goodbye. And I will be uploading your activity later when the internet comes back. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. If you have clarifications or a question, please don't hesitate to message me.